Hello everyone, today we're going to introduce illegal immigration to you guys. Here's a question that leads to our background information. How does illegal immigration impact the world? According to the data shown in the PowerPoint, US has spent billions of dollars each year trying to solve the problem caused by illegal immigrants. And similar situations appear in developed nations as well. And there are about 3 million illegal immigrants worldwide every year.
And so now that this leads to like our research question, which is like how to solve illegal immigration. And we come up with a solution that illegal immigration can be solved by providing supports to the countries where those immigrants came from. And now we will support our solution through these 3 perspectives. First, I will talk about the first perspective, which is poverty and overpopulation. So as I was doing some research, I found that one of the major reasons for illegal immigrants to take their move is because of poverty. And overpopulation is related to poverty as well, because like overpopulation causes poverty because there are lack of resource, and then the lack of resource can also like end up causing overpopulation because people want to make more child in their family, so they have more workforce. And some past events have shown that increases in poverty, particularly when associated with an ongoing crisis, can raise the likelihood of illegal immigration. And this leads to an example. So if we take an example, take a look at this example, which is about the 1994 economic crisis. So the establishment of the NAFTA caused Mexico to experience economic crisis, and the people in Mexico become poor. So during that crisis, from the mid-90s to the mid-20s, the illegal immigrants in the U.S. became more, and most of the proportion of the illegal immigrants in the U.S. was from Mexicans. And the reason that the Mexicans went to U.S. is because that they're trying to have enough more money to raise their family or just raise themselves. If you look at the average income for people then, for Mexico, they usually earn an average person can earn about 20,000 US dollar per year. But in the US, they can make like 2.5 times as what they can make in Mexico. So if people aren't making enough money in Mexico and their family are dying because of poverty, and if they know in America they can make more money and they can go to America and just get more money so that they can raise their family and can raise themselves, then they are willing to risk being illegally immigrating to this country to get more money, because if they're caught having illegal immigration, maybe they're just going to be sent back to their country. But if they just remain at their local country, they may just die because of the poverty. And for this, I have my own solution, but it's kind of flawed. So my solution when I first saw this was that to enhance the law enforcement among the countries, and when people are going to another country and they're trying to find a job in that country, they have to have a certificate, like an ID for that country. So the illegal immigrants, they don't have, for example, in the last example, for illegal immigrants from Mexico to the US, they don't have the US identification. And if they don't have that identification, then they can't find a job in the US, then they're not going to make any money. So they're going to stop illegal immigrating. But this is not going to solve the problem from its source, and it's just going to cause more people in poverty, and it's going to cause even worse problems in the world.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about how war caused illegal immigration. So illegal immigration could be caused by the need to flee from a war-torn or repressive country. And wars can cause refugees or some other forced migrants. So these immigrants are not willing to immigrate, but they have to in order to ensure their own safety. So according to United Nations, there are 4.1 million people around the world are asylum seekers, which are the people trying to find a safe place to live. And it is said to be a right that everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution, mentioned in Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 14. So the typical case is that when those immigrants know that this is their right, they will pick a destination country and stay there, despite their request for asylum might be rejected, because they could argue with the country that this is their right, and that so that the country can say nothing, and the country cannot decide whether to accept them or not. and that caused illegal immigration. And another typical case is that when a country accepts war refugees produced by internal war in a country, and they have to provide them with humanitarian resources like food, shelter, and medicines, because that's the right for those refugees. However, it is impossible for a country to produce those resources to such a huge amount of refugees at the same time. So definitely some people will be unaccepted. But the exception is that those unaccepted people might be lazy or get tired of seeking another country that could provide them with help. So that they would try to enter their original destination country in an illegal way, such as enter the country by boat or just simply climb over the border. According to this situation, my solution is that all the developed nations should work together and try to provide as much humanitarian resources as possible to those refugees and those developing countries, so that they could effectively alleviate illegal immigration or even solve illegal immigration. However, the limitation to this solution is that it could be very some developed nations might not be willing to support those developing countries, as they are not satisfied with the policies in some nations.
And also with another perspective with cultural prejudice to talk about the illegal immigration. So first, I will provide an integrated threat theory to talk about this event. So what's that? That is a theory in psychology and sociology which attempts to describe the components of a perceived threat that lead the prejudice between social groups. What that means, it means for those people which have a large population with a same cultural belief or the religion or the human race, they always have a prejudice to the people with a different religion belief or a human race. That may cause the people being prejudiced. They have not enough money to raise their family with not enough resource, so they must choose to move to another country in order to survive in a better way. But that may cause another problem, which is World and a mass goal to build a questionnaire asked the New Zealand about immigrant. So the local people still have some emotion, which is kind of anxiety or worry about the immigrant because they are stranger, stranger move to their country. They might think they have a potential dangerous, which will affect their country. So it will cause a culture conflict, which means the battle between two cultures normally compete for the limited resource that they need, and that may cause one culture die during the conflict. And so my solution of that part is promote the benefit of cultural diversity, more lesson about this one, to teach more students or the people in that country which the immigration moved from, and so that they may know the benefit of cultural diversity, so they may maybe not that much prejudice to the people which have the different religion or cultural belief.
So after we have discussed for all the sources, reasons for illegal immigration, and we have compared our own solutions, we came up with the final solution, and we believe this is the best solution. And the solution is to provide supports to the developing nations so that they can develop faster, which can ease the cost of illegal immigration. And by providing supports, I mean not just money supports, but also provide them with technology or ability to provide shelters, because people illegally immigrate because some of their basic human needs, that can threaten their life, cannot be provided in their original country. And this, their original country may be suffering from lack of money, or maybe suffering from war or cultural conflicts. However, all of these can be solved through, cultural conflict can be solved through education, and poverty can be solved through money, and war can be solved by providing shelters for them inside or outside the country. So all of these require economical support, and which is why we believe that if all the developed nations can work together to provide economical supports, we can ease the problem of illegal immigration. And of course, there are some limitations and certain problems to this solution. One of them is that it may be costful to countries, so the countries may not cooperate, just like Johnson just mentioned. However, we believe that also like in the background information, we know that illegal immigration is now costing like in U.S. alone is costing like hundreds of millions of dollars. So I believe that U.S. can have just spend money for a little while and just help the developing nations to develop. And after they spend this money, they can solve the problem once and for all. And for their, like, if we look at the bigger picture, we look at from the long-term benefits, it's actually saving money for the U.S. And the second problem is that some illegal immigration can be caused by reasons that can't be solved by like economical supports. Just like some of the prejudice cannot be solved by like education. And like this limitation, like it's also like helpful to think about like through the economical supports and the countries developing, because we don't see a lot of like illegal immigration moving out from the U.S. to other countries, which is because like the U.S. is well developed, their country is like very rich, and they can provide enough opportunity for anyone. Like people, even in the lowest like status, they know like they can work up the they can work to the top of the society and like be like get rid of the prejudice, get rid of anything that can cause them to leave. So if an economy is developed enough, then like most reasons for illegal immigration will not exist. And these are our citations, and that's all from us.
Student A, how did the group decide to include Students B perspective, lens, conclusions into the overall presentation?
So when we're doing like some preliminary research, when we like haven't decided on our solutions, we found online like a certain like big causes for illegal immigration, and we found like one of them is war, and we think like we're trying to like assess the reasons. Like my reason is that when people are trying like when they're leaving like on their own will, and I think we need another reason where like people is leaving not because of their own will, but because like they have to, which is why we included his perspective and he came up with like his solution. Like basically we kind of like just work through like our own parts like separately, and we just each worked out a solution. We think his solution is very valuable, and we just include it.
Student A, give one specific way that your thinking changed as a result of learning about Student B's finding, problem your group identified.
About his finding, I think one thing that I've like learned and kind of shocked me is that people like a lot of the people before I thought like war refugees go to other nations, they're kind of like just rush in, and then the country just like was like trying to not accept any of the refugees. But after his research, I learned that like countries still have to accept some of the refugees because of human rights, and they just accept like they accepted certain amount, but more amount of people go in, and the excess amount is the illegal immigration.
Student B, what is an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' individual research that you decided to exclude from your team presentation, and why?
I think one of the compelling arguments is that when Jerry is doing his preliminary research, he found that there are a lot of history issues about cultural conflict can cause illegal immigration. However, we think this historical issues is like too far away from us, and we think it's not relevant from us. So from our topic, so we think that is like a compelling argument. So we decide not to include it in our speech.
Student C, what is a way in which your team's resolution makes you think differently from your own individual research?
Like for me, I think that sometimes the prejudice the biggest reason for the people that choose to immigrate to another country. But like after research, like I found there a lot of reasons, like maybe from the society, from the world, like changing. And I remember that like, for the economy one, reading a passage which about the poverty that affect family that break. So I think it really touched my heart to see the harmful for the world, maybe the economy, recession, or something like that.
Thank you.